Listen, we have to get it out of our minds that we can make anybody do anything by what we tell them to do. If you're somebody that's in business, you have something of value, you solve a problem for people, you know that what you offer is the best choice for them. But you can't make anybody make that choice. And so we're in this balance of how do we influence people to get them to make that choice. We have to learn how to communicate with other people from the position of what they want and validate their concerns, validate the issues that they have, validate what's holding them back, completely validate even the complaints and problems that they have. Why do you do this? This isn't a form of people pleasing. If you're somebody that's used to people pleasing, you're trying to avoid conflict and have a belief oftentimes that other people can make you do something because they tell you to enough. When we get out of that place of being a people pleaser and a pushover, we realize, and I'm saying this from experience, that's how I've been for so long. We realize that nobody can make anybody to do anything. And in fact, whenever we're people pleasing, it's a choice of our own, and the choices that other people make that are best for them are also choices of their own. So it's our responsibility to make sure that the people that we're leading understand the message that we have that's coming across, that they comprehend it. Listen, if you're overwhelming people with what you're trying to influence them on, if you're constantly giving too much information overload to people, that does them a disservice. That does you a disservice. It actually makes you feel like, well, I did all the right things. I said all the right things. Why are they not doing the right thing? Have you ever experienced this where you help people, you lead them, and you tell them all the right things to do, and yet they choose to not do a single one of them? They choose to constantly make excuses. Isn't that frustrating? Well, the reason is because people don't feel understood. The only reason that people would choose to do that is they don't feel like you understand where they're coming from, their experience, what they're experiencing. And so we have to validate that we understand where other people are coming from if we're ever going to lead them to make the right choice. Listen, you're a messenger. You're somebody that gives a message of that choice. But after that, it's not your responsibility to make anybody do the right thing. Your own responsibility is making sure that you do your very best learning how to communicate powerfully, learning how to talk to the people that you influence, and not worrying about whether I'm starting a conflict or going to offend somebody or going to be judged by people. And at the same time, we also want to validate the concerns of other people. I keep coming back to this. Many times we believe that if I validate their concerns, it means that I'm saying that it's acceptable their wrong behavior. It's not. It's not at all. What you're doing is you're saying, I understand why you're making this choice. I understand where you're coming from. And you have to get to the point where you actually make it your mission to understand. If you don't understand where somebody is coming from with something, you're never going to influence them and lead them to make the right choice, because you're coming from it in a combative way that you're only telling them what you think is best. And nobody cares how much you know. They only want to know that you care before they listen to you and trust you. And so you want to build trust with people. You want them to know that you understand. If you don't understand how anybody could possibly do X, Y, Z, right? Have you ever said that before? I've said that. I can't understand how anybody would choose to do this. And yet, that position wasn't helping anybody. That was only feeding my own ego. That's only feeding our own ego when we say that. Because we're trying to feel like, well, I have all the answers, and so if that person over there doesn't get it, well, they should have come to me. If you feel that way, that might be justified. And oftentimes it is. Because people make wrong choices. But you have to learn to understand where other people are coming from first before you're ever going to lead them to make that right choice. And so make it an intentional part of your process, your day, your life, how you do things, to understand even those that you think are completely stupid, completely asinine, completely makes no sense. Start to understand and put yourself in the shoes of those that you want to influence. Listen, if you want to influence somebody, you have to have empathy for how they walk throughout their life and walk a day in their shoes. Now, you might not walk an actual day in their shoes, but this is a mental exercise that you can go through. You can go through that. And oftentimes, I'm going to say something here. The people that you're trying to influence are most like you. They're probably just as stubborn as you are. And that's why they don't want to be influenced. That's why they don't want to do what you say. That's why they don't want to do that, because it's a mirror of the same energy that you're putting off in that situation. And you're getting right back the energy that you're putting out. And so when we become aware of this, when we become aware that we have to understand where somebody else is coming from to influence them. This comes in a sales situation, in leadership, in coaching, in content creation, in marketing, in anything, is validating the problems and issues that other people have. And only after they know you understand, then you point to a solution. If we're constantly bombarding people with the truth, giving them a solution without showing that we know where they're coming from, you will not have influence over people. It's merely lip service to make you feel like you did all the right things. And I know that's a harsh statement, because we want to speak truth out to people. We want to get the truth in people's hands. You know, right now there's a lot of stuff going around on the internet about what's happening with coronavirus and COVID-19 and people talking about stuff like that. If you ever have evangelized or anything like that, you get this. We want people to know the truth, but people don't respond when you just hit them over the head with it. Planting a seed is showing that you care. When you plant a seed, you till the soil. You move the soil. You spend a little more time. You don't just throw a seed on the ground. It's going to die. It's going to fall on dead soil. Tilling the soil in any situation is coming from a perspective of, listen, I understand where you're coming from. Even if you don't agree with it. To point people to a better path. Nobody's going to listen to the truth or what you want to influence them in unless you show them that you care and you understand. And when you can do this, when you develop this is a skill that can be developed, especially if it doesn't come naturally to you. This didn't come naturally to me forever. I'm still working on it myself. When you can develop this skill, you can have influence, you can lead other people, you can help people make the right choices, you can lead them to do the best thing for them. And when it comes to business, this is why I constantly say it has to be more than just what you want other people to do. You have to know who your target audience is to the point that you understand everything about them better than they do. And when you can do this, you can point people to make the right choice, the right decision. And many times if you have a product or service that you're offering in business, that's buying your product or service. For instance, I believe the best choice people can make, if they're running Facebook ads, buy my Facebook ads course, right? I believe the best choice they can make, hop on the phone with me for 15 minutes, do some coaching with me. But I can't make anybody do that. All I can do is show people that I understand. That's what I do on this content right here. Bringing valuable material. Oftentimes what I talk about in my content is what I share with people in my paid coaching. If you put together all of my videos, you would get the same value and more from my coaching. But what the difference is when I coach people, I'm able to have that one-to-one, face-to-face type interaction, which is crafted in a way for the individual, versus on platforms, it's more to a mass audience. So the way we talk is a little bit differently. We have to show people that we understand where they're coming from if we're ever going to influence them to make the right choice. So this week, if you're somebody that wants to help other people make the right choice, practice this. Make it an intentional time. Spend some time maybe by yourself. Start asking people questions. The best way to understand them is to ask questions on why they do something. somebody you disagree with, that maybe you're trying to influence them to make a positive choice. Ask them why they're wanting to do that. Not to tell them what you think is the best choice. Not to tell them what you think they should do, by the way. Just to merely, this is your only goal, understand. And at a later time, you can influence them for the right choice. And whether they take that or not, again, not your responsibility. We're not trying to make anybody do anything. You can't do that. But what you can do is grow in your ability to communicate to other people. That's the practice. That's what you can do. That's what all of us can do, is grow in our ability personally to communicate with others, and we become better leaders to help other people make the right choices in their life. So, grow your life, everybody, and we'll talk soon.